For many people, Ghost of Tsushima was their game of the year. It's a great open world, filled with a solid backstory and great fight mechanics, but not only that, they then came and smashed it out of the park with a free mode which allowed you to play multiplayer with other people. I'm sure there's a lot of people that want a sequel to this game, and it looks like we might actually get it a lot sooner rather than later. Now, there is a job advertisement up on the Sucker Punch careers page, and it's got some very interesting info concerning Ghost of Tsushima. I'm just going to read it out to you, then I'm going to speculate a little bit about where a sequel could go. I feel like I've got a few ideas, but I'd love to hear your opinions on where they could take this story. First things first though. Design Combat Designer. Do you dissect the combat and core systems of all the games you play? Do you delight in knowing the details of attack or parry timing and count frames? Then we would like to talk to you. We're looking for people who are passionate about living and breathing combat design. Sucker Punch games focus on strong and innovative player mixed abilities with rich storytelling and challenging encounters. As a combat designer, you're in the middle of this, creating the glue for the content and systems, helping create a cohesive and exhilarating experience. I mean, they sure did that with Ghost. Let's have a little look at what the responsibilities of the role would be. Responsibilities include making a prototype, polish and balance enemies and player abilities and progression systems. Prototype, polish and balance enemies, player abilities and progression systems. Work with design leadership to create and iterate on combat experiences. Provide clear communication to all disciplines you're working with. Give crisp feedback to quickly iterate on concepts, proposing solutions as well as criticisms. Contribute to overall game design. We're a collaborative group and we expect every member of the team to have an impact on the overall player experience. Requirements. This is where it gets interesting. Must have played Ghost of Tsushima and understand its core combat systems. 3 years plus of design in AAA game development experience. I mean, it's a typical job thing, isn't it? Demonstrated ability to prototype and iterate quickly. Solid programming or similar experience. Must be a clear communicator and an expert juggler of contributions from different disciplines. Contemporary knowledge of modern combat design. Must be eligible to work in the US and willing to relocate to Seattle. Overall, most things you'd sort of expect for a job role like this. But the most interesting part of this is the fact it says must have played Ghost of Tsushima. Now the key takeaway here is the fact that they say must have played Ghost of Tsushima and understand its core combat systems. I mean, that in itself feels like a massive point in the right direction of a sequel. We know they were working on a game called Prophecy, but it looks like that pretty much became Ghost of Tsushima somewhere down the line, and it doesn't sound like anything needed for them to make a new Infamous game either. So, all things hint towards a new Ghost of Tsushima game. Now, likely this would be a sequel, and I think it's very important to look at where the story's at to try and figure out where they might go with it. Now, obviously, even though we defeated the Mongolians in this chapter, that doesn't mean they're all completely defeated, nor does it mean that they hadn't been able to have successes in other parts of Japan. We also know that through history, they conquered a lot of China as well, so that allows us a lot of space to move around other parts of the map. The fact that Jin has no real ties to Tsushima now, apart from his legend, means that he could potentially go off island and help other people fighting the Mongolians in general. It's not like he's got anything else to do, and he's slightly on the run from the other samurai to a degree as well. Or, we're on the point where we could literally have more samurai influence than Mongolians when it comes to the enemies moving forward. And this would also work very well with the combat system, because they might bring in new styles and stances, and that means that Jin can learn a whole bunch of new styles and stances as well. But it also gives us a completely different dynamic to the sword fights. It would become a lot more of a hard battle, fighting against people that you've been trained in. Now, the Mongolians had their own way of approaching things with many different enemies, but at the same time, taking on the samurai could be a completely nice change of pace for this. I know a lot of people really do like the ghost element of Ghost, and I really hope they find a way to bring in more of that. That's why I think potentially if you move into having like moving over to China for this story, then you also get a lot more of Chinese combat influence thrown into the game. All of these are great possibilities, and it will be very interesting to find out where they sort of go with the next part in the story. But I think it's a safe bet right now to say that they are definitely trying to work on a sequel to this game. Yes, it could be some new IP. Hey, maybe they're even trying to finish Prophecy, or they're just trying to move what they've built on in Ghost into a different time era. Maybe we go to something that's a bit more medieval. Who knows? Who knows? But I don't think they would have put must have played Ghost of Tsushima and understand its core combat systems in there if they weren't looking for someone that can take everything they've worked on in the first game and really build on that in a new game. So I'm going to say it's a safe bet. Or we could just be getting a lot more coming to the original game, and they're working on the Legends element, taking that further. Maybe adding some new classes down the line. Maybe taking some of the classes that we've played at in Legends and actually bringing them into a sequel of Ghost and making it a much bigger player experience where you might be able to tackle the story not just alone, but with friends. A lot of Ghost of Tsushima, you were making allies along the way, and I really do think it would have been awesome if you were able to play the story mode alongside some of your friends. That's nothing against Legends. They had a great story mode and they've got great challenges in all of their online modes, but it would be a good way to move forward with the sequel to allow, especially moving into next gen, a way that you can do all of this and even more with your allies by your side. I don't know. That's just my thoughts and opinions. Do let me know what you're thinking. But as I said, there's some very, very easy ways for them to go with this story direction. I'm just going to round them up one more time for you. The Mongolians have taken over other places in Japan, and Jin must travel to go and save them. The Mongolians have moved so far into China, and while Jin is on the move, he finds out about this and decides to give over himself in some form of sort of mercenary element. Or Jin stays on Tsushima, where he's invaded by the samurai themselves, seeking to take him down because of his dishonor. 3 great ways that you could spin this story, or maybe do it over the course of the next few games in general. That's my thoughts and feelings on this. Please do let me know what you think. But I mean, this is some very good news to kick the year off. They wouldn't have put in must have played Ghost of Tsushima and understand its core combat systems if they weren't planning to use the game and take it further. I think it's a safe bet. I hope it's a safe bet. I really would love a sequel, and I hope you agree. Because hey, let's face it, if you didn't pick The Last of Us Part 2, it's probably your game of the year, right? So there we go, man. Anyway, take care of yourselves. It's almost the start of a new week. Stay easy, stay breezy, and why do I always say stupid things at the end of every video? Peace.